24. SpaceX made $791 million in net profit. A real profit. A profitable rocket and satellite business. In February 2026, SpaceX merged with xAI, Musk's artificial intelligence company, and xAI's prior acquisition of X, formerly Twitter. By 2025, the combined entity posted a $4.94 billion net loss. In Q1 2026 alone, a single quarter, the loss was $4.28 billion. The pattern in those numbers is not complicated. Starlink generated $3.26 billion in Q1 2026 revenue and $1.19 billion in operating income. The rocket launch segment lost $662 million. The AI segment, xAI, lost $2.47 billion. Starlink is the only reason the consolidated company has any operating income at all. And this is where it gets precise. Of the $10.1 billion in capital expenditure that SpaceX deployed in Q1 2026, $7.7 billion, 76%, went to xAI. Starlink received $1.3 billion. The rocket business got $1 billion. A satellite internet company, profitable and growing, is being used as the financial engine to fund an AI company that is burning cash at a rate that would bankrupt most businesses within 18 months. Morningstar's summary of the S1 put it plainly. Starlink's success is effectively subsidizing xAI's extensive expenditures. The IPO does not change that dynamic. The IPO amplifies it. Because now, public shareholders will be the ones subsidizing it. And they will have almost no say in the matter. When you buy a share of most publicly listed companies, you buy a fractional vote. You own a piece of the decision-making process. You can vote on board members, executive compensation, major transactions. That vote may be small, but it exists. SpaceX is structured differently. Musk controls 85.1% of voting power through a dual-class share structure. Class B shareholders, which is primarily Musk, receive significantly more votes per share than public Class A shareholders. The S1 was explicit. This structure makes him virtually impossible to dislodge. For comparison, when Google went public in 2004 with its dual-class structure, Larry Page and Sergey Brin held approximately 37% of economic ownership and 61% of voting power. When Mark Zuckerberg controls Facebook, he holds roughly 13% of shares but around 57% of votes. Elon Musk will retain 85% of voting control after this IPO. He could redirect the entire company to Mars colonization tomorrow. He could acquire another company at a loss. He could pay himself the largest compensation package in corporate history. And in fact, SpaceX has already granted him a $600 billion bonus package tied to two conditions: 1 million people on Mars and a company value of $30 trillion. This is not a standard public company. It is a private empire with public financing, and the filing was entirely transparent about that. Which raises a question that the mainstream coverage somehow never quite landed on. If Musk can do whatever he wants with this company forever, why did he go public at all? Elon Musk founded SpaceX in 2002 with a single stated purpose: make humanity multiplanetary. He said it over and over for 20 years. He resisted going public precisely because he believed shareholders would not tolerate the capital allocation required to actually reach Mars, that the financial system would domesticate his ambition. So the question that the financial press has danced around but never asked directly is this: what changed? Three things happened between 2022 and 2026 that matter here. First, Musk bought Twitter, renamed it X, and absorbed it into xAI, which he then merged into SpaceX. That chain of acquisitions cost tens of billions of dollars and turned a profitable space and satellite business into a loss-making AI conglomerate. The people who question this sequence are not wrong to do so. xAI's co-founders have departed. The Grok chatbot faces lawsuits. The Colossus data centers are powered partly by methane gas turbines that triggered an NAACP lawsuit in April 2026. This is not a clean story. Second, Musk spent a significant portion of 2025 running Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, as political theater. A Yale study estimated this cost Tesla more than 1 million US EV sales. Tesla's operating profit fell 70% from its peak. He overpromised on robotaxis. He overpromised on full self-driving. His attention was demonstrably elsewhere. Third, and this is the part that is genuinely underappreciated, Musk quietly updated his Mars ambitions in the SpaceX S1. The prospectus says he now wants to build a moon city before a Mars city, because the moon is reachable every 10 days versus every 26 months for Mars. He told xAI employees he wants a moon factory building AI satellites, then launching them via a mass driver, an electromagnetic catapult. The destination has shifted. The mission statement has been quietly rewritten. Is he exiting? No. He retains 85% of voting power. He cannot be forced out and would never sell. Is he building a new empire? Possibly. xAI plus Starlink plus orbital data centers plus X as a distribution platform is a coherent, if extraordinarily expensive, vision of an AI-first company that also happens to own the satellite infrastructure that AI in space will run on. Or is he distracted? The track record over the last 3 years suggests someone whose attention is spread across more enterprises than any single person can effectively govern. The answer to that question may be the most important variable in the SpaceX IPO. Here's the bull case for SpaceX at $175 trillion. And it is worth taking seriously, because the people who built Starlink from 0 to 10 million subscribers in 6 years have earned the right to be heard. The S1 describes a plan to deploy orbital AI compute satellites as early as 2028. The logic is this: AI compute requires enormous amounts of electricity. Land-based data centers are constrained by grid capacity, permitting, cooling, and geography. A data center in orbit, powered by direct solar energy, faces none of those constraints. And if that data center sits within a Starlink constellation, it can deliver AI inference globally, at low latency, to any device on Earth with a Starlink terminal. SpaceX has already requested permission to launch up to 1 million such satellites. In March 2026, it signed a deal with Anthropic, the company behind the Claude AI, worth $1.25 billion per month, for access to the Colossus data center in Memphis. That is $15 billion per year in contracted revenue from a single customer. The contract can be terminated with 90 days' notice, which matters, but the scale of it signals something real about where enterprise AI compute is heading. SpaceX also signed a deal with Cursor, the AI coding assistant, worth $10 billion, with an option to acquire Cursor for up to $60 billion. So the architecture being assembled is launch cheap. Falcon and Starship give SpaceX the lowest cost per kilogram to orbit on Earth. Connect everything. Starlink provides the global network that AI in space would run on. Compute in orbit. Orbital data centers powered by sunlight, selling AI inference to the world. Distribute through X, which for all its controversy has 600 million users who are already receiving Grok AI responses. This is the vision that justifies the valuation. Not rockets, not satellites, a vertically integrated AI infrastructure company that just happens to own the cheapest way to get things into space. The question is not whether that vision is coherent. It is. The question is whether the man building it has the focus to execute it. The crowd is going to buy SpaceX. Robinhood, Schwab, Fidelity, SoFi, and E-Trade are all named as selling group members in the S1. This is the first time in history that the largest IPO ever filed went directly to retail investors at the same price as institutions. At the same time, that is not a coincidence. It is a strategy. The crowd will see Elon Musk's name, a $1.75 trillion valuation, the word SpaceX, and they will buy. But here is what the crowd will not see. Starlink's average revenue per user was $81 in Q1 2026, down 23% year-over-year. The subscriber count doubled, from 5 million to 10.3 million. But the price each subscriber pays is falling as SpaceX pushes into lower-income international markets. Volume is doing all the work. The per-user economics are softening, quietly in the footnotes. The Anthropic contract, $1.25 billion per month, $15 billion per year, can be terminated by either party with 90 days notice. It is not a SaaS contract. It is a large, revocable purchase order. If Anthropic builds its own infrastructure or switches to another provider, that revenue disappears in 3 months. xAI lost $6.3 billion in 2025 and is projected to burn $10 billion in 2026. SpaceX's accumulated deficit now sits at $41.3 billion. And the AI segment is producing $818 million in quarterly revenue against $2.47 billion in quarterly losses. The gap is not closing. It is widening. None of this means the company fails. It might be the most important company of the next decade. But the before the crowd discipline is this. Understand what you are actually buying, rather than what the narrative says you are buying. You are buying Starlink, which is genuinely exceptional. You are buying a bet on orbital AI compute, which is genuinely visionary. And you are buying xAI, which is genuinely losing money at a pace that would make most CFOs resign. The question is whether those three things, at $1.75 trillion, represent value, or represent the most expensive optimism ever offered to retail investors. Most people are not reading the S1. That is not a criticism. It is a fact about how financial media works. The story of SpaceX's IPO is legible and exciting. Elon Musk, rockets, Mars, the largest float in history. That story writes itself. That story gets clicks. The story of Starlink's ARPU compression, the declining revenue per subscriber as SpaceX pushes down market, does not. The story of a $40 billion Anthropic contract that can be canceled in 90 days does not. The story of an accumulated deficit of $41.3 billion and an AI division burning through capital at a rate that no current revenue stream can sustain does not. And yet, those are the numbers that determine whether this IPO represents one of the great investments of the decade or one of the great transfers of wealth from retail investors to early private shareholders. This is what the before the crowd framework is built for. Not the obvious story, not the exciting narrative, the structural reality underneath, while the crowd is still deciding which direction to run. The window to understand SpaceX properly, before the stock is priced, before the roadshow ends, before the first trading day, is the next 3 weeks. That window is closing. Here is what SpaceX actually is, in May 2026. It is a satellite internet company called Starlink that has 10 million subscribers and genuine competitive advantages in a market that is growing fast. That business, valued in isolation, is worth real money at almost any reasonable multiple. It is a rocket company that can launch to orbit cheaper than anyone on Earth and is betting those rockets on a Starship program that, if it works, changes the economics of everything that happens in space for the next 100 years. That bet has the most credible foundation in the history of commercial space. And it is an AI company called XAI, built around a chatbot called Grok, a data center in Memphis called Colossus, and a vision of orbital AI compute that may be the most ambitious infrastructure idea of the decade, or maybe the most expensive distraction of the decade. The financials cannot yet distinguish between those two outcomes. Elon Musk is not exiting. He holds 85% of votes and will never relinquish that. He is building something. But what he is building is still being defined in real time by a man whose attention is distributed across more enterprises than anyone has successfully managed before. The SpaceX IPO is not a bet on a company. It is a bet on a person. The question, the only question that actually matters, is whether the person building the most ambitious company in history is still building this one, or building the next one.